to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
March 7th, 2018 Board of Trustees budget hearing minutes as presented.
And your support? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Everybody's present by myself. Okay, and,
Explain things, I will make the motion to accept the Board of Trustees minutes from March 7th, 2018 as presented.
hearing no errors or corrections, all in favor of the minutes? Approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes stand approved. Audience comments, same rules apply, I don't need to go through it all. Be recognized by a raise of the hand. And please state your name.
Jerry Kane, Jones Road, Sword Street. I want to talk again tonight about the Metro merger, the possibility of it. This was from the January 3rd meeting here, off an audio. At 31 minutes and 24 seconds, there was talk of raising taxes for public safety due to Project Tim in Shiawassee County. Mr. Fortino stated we need a larger police station rather than the closet they currently work out of. In researching the board minutes from the Metro Police Authority on 11/21/17, Lieutenant Bade presented a review of shared services with Gaines Township. He also stated that there would be an offer of lockers to the officers and an extra office for Chief Smitzer at the Metro Police Authority building if they would like to work out of the Metro building. Well, if you've got a closet that is working out of here, and there's talks of a prospective merger, why not go over there? At last month's board meeting, at 24:20 into the meeting, Chief Smitzer addressed my public comment saying in part, I'm not going to list everything I'm doing every day. Well, that brings me back to what I read last month. Openness, accountability, and honesty define government transparency. In a free society, transparency governs obligation to share information with its citizens. It is at the heart how citizens hold their public officials accountable. And you, sir, are a public official. You're not supposed to be political. Chief, you called me 3 days prior to the Metro announcement that there was going to be a merger, and you told me about it. Asked me to keep it underneath my hat, which I did. You knew I was a big part of the volunteers, especially being a member of the first graduating class out of there. I'd like to know who got a hold of Metro and said that if Jerry Kadich continues to be a volunteer, Gaines Township will not go through with the merger. I'd like to know who put that out there. You know I was an asset to the community. You know that. You and I communicated on many things from guns being fired openly in different areas of the township, about an issue on property being used for a business down there. We talked a lot. I'm befuddled by that. I truly am.
30 seconds.
Okay, I want to go to a April 4, 2014 MLive. And you're not going to give me enough time, but it goes on and talks in here how a merger at that time with Monday was shelved, and it was going to save us $30,000 a year. The clerk, the treasurer, and one of the trustees said, nope, we're not gonna do it. They voted it down. Milky was in charge. And one of the reasons they say in that Gaines Township Police Chief Mark Smitzer would have been assigned as a detective with a focus on Gaines Township through this agreement. It would have saved us money, but Ms. Herman stated that they were upset over the fact that Chief Smitzer wasn't going to be put into a command position. So if we're gonna merge with Metro, which I think is a great idea and we should, we need to be serious about it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Chad Pack, Nichols Road, 7265. The first thing I'd like to address is Mr. Moros. Last meeting, my friend Jerry was up here speaking, and he was rudely interrupted by Mr. Moros. I don't agree with that. I think it's very unprofessional. I thought this was a comment section for the citizens to speak and not being interrupted by the board. That's my first point. My second point would be, while I was running for election, I've heard a lot of rumors between me and Mr. Morris and our contact that we had in front of this building. I'd like to address that at this time. We both know what happened, and I've heard plenty of rumors that were false about what's happened, accusing me of very, very wrongful doings. All of that is false. You know that, and I know that. I was on one side, you were on the other. How this all started? You held up a Trump sign as a Democrat. I called you out on that. If you're a Democrat, why are you holding up a Trump sign? You got mad. What happened? You came over and confronted me on my side, got in my face, towered over me, and attempted to intimidate me during an election that's supposed to be professional. We're supposed to be representing our citizens and trying to do the right thing. You lost your temper, and you came in and confronted me. Somehow that got miscontorted into me starting to fight with you. While at the same time, I'm not done, sir. At the same time, your son is flipping me off. Your mother and somebody else I don't know who claimed to be a federal agent, which isn't, and would not provide me with this federal agent number, also came over. 3 of you intimidating me on my side. I kept to my side. I never came to your side. Every single time we had contact, you approached me, confronted me, got in my face for no reason, other than the fact that you were upset that I called you out on something that was very true and wrong in my opinion. Now, you continue with the same sort of attitude right now with the smirk on your face while I call you out on this. No different than when Jerry Kadich comes up and speaks and says something that you dislike. You smirk, you make rude gestures, I don't know how to say it necessarily politely in front of this board, but I totally disagree with everything you do up there. Other than the fact that you made a great point at last meeting that we should try to change the date when we do the meetings on Wednesdays. I totally agree with you on that, sir. Then we have the rest of the board who won't even acknowledge you when you come up with something like that. A great idea. Trying to get citizens to come to a meeting at a better time. How are you people supposed to work together when you are supposed to be on the same team and you come up with something that's a great idea, trying to do something for the citizens, and these people won't even acknowledge you or think about it?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Now, the last point I'd like to make is the media bias by this woman right here.
Yes.
During my interview for this, while I was running for election, she changed things I said, negated to mention things that I said. Who knows why? I don't know why. But I still thought I had a good interview, but it was not the interview I gave. Secondly, last meeting I approached her about my new organization, Students Standing for Gun Rights. We're going to go into schools. We're going to school board meetings for the next 3-4 months. We've got people nationwide supporting this movement. We're going to go into these schools, assess their safety programs. We're going to go in, see what kind of security protocol they have. We're going to try to work with police departments, fire departments, and see how we can better the situation without imposing on constitutional rights of the American citizens, which obviously is not going to do any good. Look at the thing that just happened in California, who has some of the most strictest gun rights and gun laws. Yeah, okay, Mr. Feet.
Robert Henderson, Grand Blanc Road. At the meeting on March 7th, I used point of order to get a clarification of your claim that you had not discussed, Mr. Supervisor, discussed merging with Metro Police. But you were not happy with me using point of order, even though it's a of us are perfect. I've seen you ask the treasurer for proper parliamentary procedure. I said I believed there were news articles that others, maybe you, had discussed merging. And at the swearing in of Metro meeting, you were asked 2 times if you had discussed it, and you answered 2 times no. The 2 times made me wonder why 2 times. So when you brought it up on March 7th, I thought I would get it clarified, because it seemed illogical that all the articles about 18 months Gaines Township on track to merge with Metro, like Swartz Creek did, and your campaign article saying you were in favor of our local police department, that you must have or should have in order to form an opinion, who must have discussed it in order to have an informed opinion. Who is putting us on track for this potential merger? If you, the supervisor, are on the police board, why haven't you discussed it? The supervisor must know of it. How can you be against it if you have not discussed it? I and others I have been paying taxes in Gaines Township for 30 years, and we taxpayers need a good way to ask questions about what's going on during the meeting taking place, not just being told what's being done, so that we get transparency and answers to our questions, like Jerry Cage did. And again, I don't think he should have been made fun of by anybody on this board when he's speaking. I agree with that. I see where Flushing Township has questions before and at the end of their meeting. And I understand that the Gaines Township previous supervisor also had questions at the end of our meeting. But you canceled those meetings, those end of meeting question sessions. That and your refusal to consider changing meetings to other than Wednesday night in order to let people who attend church on Wednesday attend our meetings give the appearance that you just don't want questions asked. These things and your negative reaction to my request for a point of information to ask a question, and your curt, out of order response to my second request, and especially your unnecessarily curt, out of order response to Mrs. Deal, further gives the appearance that you don't want to answer questions. When I have read about parliamentary procedure, you are required to be polite, and I believe you owe Mrs. Deal an apology. And lumping all of your answers at the end of a meeting is confusing, and BS is not an answer. I was just recently denied access to an open board review meeting, and it just goes to show you that there is secrecy, non-transparency going on at this township. Regarding the roundabout, myself and others don't believe we should waste taxpayer dollars on a second roundabout. The first was not necessary, and we helped pay for their rock mistake. Roundabouts are meant to solve four-way stop issues. Flint Township refused one at court and died. And really, we should not be taxed for their mistakes. And a second roundabout, which impedes Grand Lake flow of traffic, and Morris Road South is not a primary road. Roundabouts are meant for intersections like Linden and Grand Lake Road, four-way stops that become crowded. I read that Great Britain, who started roundabouts, is going to take them out and install traffic lights instead. Maybe we're behind the times. And not all that almost $1 million earmarked for that roundabout is earmarked for that roundabout. 600. I've read that 600 plus is earmarked by the feds, and then there's $300,000 in the county plus Gaines Township contribution. I don't think we should spend our tax dollars on this roundabout, and others don't either. My neighbor pointed out that Grand Lake and Duffield is a four-way stop and has a serious history of accidents and is more suitable for a roundabout. And I got a budget copy of the budget a few days before the budget meeting, and then I got one at the budget meeting, and they're different. They have the same date on them, but they're different. Why is that? How do I look at it and know which is which? Thank you for your help.
Amy Morrow, Gaines Township. My last name ends with an S, not an N. And Matt's mother was not here the day that he was running to the federal police officer was and still is a federal police officer who was just promoted to
Smith, I want to talk
lieutenant.
to you about that because he didn't give me his
Who
federal
was
ID
just
number.
promoted to lieutenant. He has proudly served for 20 years
We broke the law.
to defend our country. He carries a badge and still does at this day.
You know we broke the law,
Um,
Smiths.
During multiple meetings,
I asked for his
it is
federal
very
ID.
difficult.
Are you interrupting
No,
somebody? or
I'm sorry.
what you
This
were
is
complaining about?
something that I want to discuss because as a Gaines Township resident, it is very difficult to sit in the audience when multiple people are having conversations, and it is very difficult to hear the board. And at the last meeting, as I said, my last name ends with an S, not an N, and I could hear that in the audience, as well as conversations versus the board not answering questions, which while the discussion was going on in the audience, the board was answering and addressing the conversation. Also, the young lady who came up and spoke, that I have known for years, opened with a verse from the Bible and ended with a verse from the Bible. And she very respectfully addressed the board, as she has been in contact with the board for years regarding what's going on where she lives, in a very respectful way. Whereas someone else came up and addressed the board and told them to go to, I'm not going to say.
I told him, may they rot in hell.
Right.
Get it right, you're trying to correct him.
No.
Mr. Cage, no.
Sorry, Mr. Fortino. Get facts straight.
Well, regardless,
I said not to do it, and you turned right around and did it again.
regardless, it was telling the board to go somewhere very foul, which I don't use that type of language. And sitting in the audience, it's very difficult to hear what is being said up here. And as I stated, last month's meeting, something that was being discussed in the audience was actually discussed and answered by the board. And the discussion in the audience, they still did not know what was answered or discussed. So some of the conversations that go on out here need to be addressed so that those of us who want to hear what's going on can maybe hear it. And if they were not having side conversations and making snide comments, maybe they would hear the answers to what they were saying.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Seeing no hands, we're gonna move on. Building inspectors report. 13 permits, total billing of $1,743. Most of it all small stuff. They probably will pick up when weather is better. Code enforcement, report is there. Any questions about that?
Wanted to update you on four things that I've been working on over the last month. First of all, on Oakfield, as I mentioned, I was on vacation last week. While I was on vacation, I received an email from the Attorney Huth, which attached what was called an operational plan. I opened it, and what I opened was basically a paragraph, and a very short paragraph at that. It essentially copied and pasted a section out of the 2008 medical marijuana law, which said that no caregiver or patient can possess more than whatever the state law requires, 2.5 ounces or whatever the case may be. And that was it. He wanted to know if that sufficed from my perspective in terms of an operational plan. I received that on my phone, which isn't a great way to communicate. So I told him I was on vacation, but no, it wasn't satisfactory as far as I was concerned. It was parroting state law and didn't give us any sense of what their operations were. I received just yesterday a second email from him asking if I had any details or specifics I could provide. And while I haven't responded, I'm going to respond to simply say no. I'm expecting and will suggest to the Planning Commission that if it's not a detailed operational plan, I think it's still incomplete. So that's the extent of it at this point. I know Attorney Huth does an awful lot of municipal law. I know he's new on that side of the table when it comes to medical marijuana. I expect that he knows exactly what we're looking for, and he indicated as such when we were at the Planning Commission. So we'll see if we get anything. The Planning Commission's scheduled for later this month, if I recall correctly. Second, I prepared an ordinance that I just gave to Chief Schmitzer. He asked that I prepare one dealing with the reckless discharge of firearms. I provided it to him, and I suspect he may recommend that at next month's meeting. I also received from Gaines Village a fire agreement, proposed fire agreement. I made some changes, a few red line changes to that I brought tonight. I'll give to you, and I sent to them as well. I represent obviously both entities, so they're really cosmetic changes. Nothing too complex. Finally, the mosquito lawsuit, just to follow up, we have a briefing schedule that is set to kick in about mid-month. I'm working on my aspect of it. He's expecting something from me first, opposing counsel next, and then we return to court. So those are the four things.
Okay, Board of Appeals, I don't think you have any.
We did not have a meeting, we do have one next week on the 11th.
I think we'd like to get quick meeting. Fire Board met Monday night.
Yes, the fire board met Monday night. The fire runs for March, there were 9 medical runs for March, there were 16 of them. And there was one recommendation from the fire board to the approval of the fire protection agreement with the Village of Gaines for 5 years, with an amendment of having the use of 3 bays instead of 2 bays, is what the fire board had recommended. And then and that's later in our agenda to deal with. And then the other was just the bills.
Is there a particular problem with someone having some of the apparatus over at number 2, as far as distribution?
No, this is contract for 2 days, because they're reserving one for the police car, and they don't have a police car.
Are the bays over there sufficient for our?
Just a little technical thing. No, nothing big. The bay is full already, so. Okay. Planning Commission.
Planning Commission meets on the 29th of this month at 7:30, last Wednesday here. No particular agenda at this time. Yeah.
Okay, Police Department, Chief Spitzer.
There are a total of 124 incidents reported to Genesee County 911 for the month of March. 117 in the township, 7 in the Village of Gaines. There were also an additional 33 walk-in requests for service, for a total of 157 requests for service. The Gaines Township Police Department handled 80 of the 911 calls and all 33 of the walk-ins. The remaining calls for service were handled by the Michigan State Police, the Genesee County Sheriff's Department, and other local agencies. The Gaines Township Police also assisted Metro Police Authority on 14 calls, while Metro Police assisted on 9 incidents within Gaines Township's area. In addition to this, there were 5 traffic citations issued, 13 verbal warnings given, 32 business checks conducted, 71 residential checks, 4 felony warrants obtained, and 4 felony arrests made. 2 of the arrests resulted in the recovery of some jewelry taken in a larceny. There have been a total of 424 incidents reported year-to-date compared to 404 for the same time last year.
Next thing is the treasurer's report, and you've got it there under the new format, which is all encompassing. Any questions or comments about that? Hearing or seeing? Okay. Township communications. There's nothing new to report on the, other than what's on the agenda for the road commission. They are gonna, start a search. May have mentioned it last month, but they're thinking about hiring a company to look for a managing director for the road commission. I'll know more about that at the next meeting. Water and waste, subcommittee is working on, REUs and, reviewing the formula for the, application of the REUs for commercial properties mostly, and, when that's finished, we'll have to probably incorporate that into our sewer ordinance, I would imagine. This would be the procedure. 911, still having issues with the new pagers. The next executive board meeting is going to be very interesting. So I'm sure that will be the topic of discussion. That's pretty much all I have. What's on the agenda? Any questions from you? Mike, you got anything?
Nope, not at this time.
Treasurer is,
Treasurer's all quiet, balanced for the county, and ready to start a new year.
okay. All right, accounts payable. General checking, $37,595.61. Fire operating checking, $14,177.10. Police checking, $10,509.02. Waste and refuge, $27,219.40. Water and sewer checking for pump stations, $2,790.73. Usage, quarterly usage, $111,250.27. Those are broke down in this, the pages that you've got there. What's your pleasure on the bills, ladies?
Make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Support.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Purdy,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Aller,
Yes.
Herman. Yes. Martino.
Yes. Okay, bills stand approved. First thing is the, village fire agreement. As previously discussed, in the 4th paragraph there, it says the use of 2 bays. Fire board discussed the fact that there's actually 3 bays there. And this is really the previous contract. Really, it's a renewal, it's been renewed several times, and Mr. Gilmer may have something else too, it looks like something.
Well, I can point out just a few changes that I made, and you can decide whether you wish to adopt those changes or not. There's really only 3 changes. In the second paragraph, it says that the term is for 5 years and ends March 31, 2024. I think it should be 2023 if it's a 5-year term starting this year.
This is 18.
In the very next paragraph, the third full paragraph down, it talks about there's going to be quarterly payments made in the amount of $2,500 each year. It was, to me, just confusing to read that, and so I just specified that it would be April, July, and October of 2018, and then payments would be made on January, April, July, and October every year thereafter, or wording to that effect. Again, it's a cosmetic change. It may not matter to you. And then if you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 full paragraph, right about halfway, where it says the township shall at all times, I just struck it. I don't think it's necessary. I think clearly the township and the village are acting in their governmental capacities at all times. You can keep it. It's unnecessary. So tonight you can simply, you can adopt it as presented with none of my suggested changes. That's fine. 2, you can adopt it in a form acceptable to me, for example, and I've highlighted those changes and sent them on, or we can bring it back so you can see those changes made. Those are your options.
Mr. Supervisor, through you, please. Do we have any idea what the village feels of these corrections?
I don't. I don't know. I sent it to them by email, but that was just in the last day or so.
So we would.
I think they had it on their agenda last meeting and approved it the way it was
So we would accept this per the village acceptance, the village's acceptance, if we were to correct.
Yeah, they approved the copy as it's written here, so
Okay.
I guess they would, at their next meeting, either take these corrections up on their agenda. They could either agree with them, disagree with them, or whatever, but it's not, it's not of substantial nature.
Right.
It doesn't change really anything in terms of what your obligations are to each other.
Right.
I think it just makes it a bit easier to read and understand, that's all.
So that the second change that you were talking about on the third paragraph, that 2024 should be 2023 there at the end?
I didn't even say that, I simply said January, April, July, and October every year thereafter.
Okay.
So it was April, July, October for 2018.
Yes.
And then
Yeah. You think that's an issue, or, I know it's good, but I mean, as far as clarity goes. Right?
Point of order.
I'm not asking you a question, really.
Yeah, it is on our agenda for amending the 3 doors, and any amendments that you want to make,
Good.
then we can add those.
Okay, what's the board think?
I'll make a motion that we accept the fire protection agreement between the Village of Gaines and Gaines Township as amended. I guess I will say as corrected.
I think they all make sense, so. Any more discussion on it? Guess we need to do a voice signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay. No soliciting signs. Trying to still address that issue. What do we, purchase of signs to be installed on existing poles or?
Yes. Chief Smitzer had found these signs on this website, the no soliciting sign and a zone community sign, you know, we had talked about before, putting, it's its own community, but all our green Gaines Township and green Gaines Township signs. And the no soliciting signs are $190, and the zone community would also be $190, so it'd be total with some fasteners and stuff, and put them up, and either the chief or the fire chief, or we were gonna get some local person here to put them up, so, might be myself also. So it'd be about $400 for signs, to add them to our current no parking signs and our Henry Gaines Township signs.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that, we approve the purchase of signs for $400.
Support.
Okay. Any discussion on it?
I do have a little bit of discussion. I'm fine with the signs. We have a no soliciting sign-up sheet, correct? That we
Ordinance,
also-
we have ordinance.
Yeah, we have an
So do the residents have to come in to sign that book, or can they make a phone call to sign it?
The solicitor has to go. Solicitor.
Okay. Be on the no
Wait,
soliciting.
Oh, no soliciting
Yeah,
list?
the no soliciting.
Place, Mark's got his hand.
Okay, let's get it straight. We adopted ordinance 133. There are several sections to the ordinance. There are two ways for residents not to be solicited. Is to post their property, no soliciting, or, in addition to, they can come in because we need to know who they are. I don't want some neighbor or child making the decision for somebody who they don't want that decision made. Come in, they show us who they are, that they're a township resident, and we can put them in the book as they do not want to be solicited. When someone applies for and is approved for their soliciting permit, they receive a copy of the addresses, not the names, but of the addresses that they are not to solicit it. Is it clear as mud?
Fantastically clear.
You're mixing two things at once there. Okay. I guess all in favor signify by saying aye. If there's any more discussion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we've got a couple mistakes or something, or?
Yes, last month when we approved the schedule of meetings for the year, there was some confusion about the fire board meeting in December. And we were trying to guess that date and we kind of messed up on that. So that fire board date for, is December 3rd is for the December meeting, and December 17th is for the January meeting. It's gonna be kind of close together there, but because of the holidays, it's messed up a little bit. And I also added, the changes are in parentheses, and at the fire board, I added the April 2nd, 2018 meeting, which was yesterday, and then the April 1st, 2019 meeting. And also I added, today's Board of Trustees meeting to the schedule at the top there, as you can see. So we're just, the one main one there that we kind of missed on, so I just thought that we needed to reapprove that as amended.
Motion to approve the amended meeting schedule.
So
Support?
Also support.
Okay. Discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ordinance 86, amendment. Think we want to tackle it, or?
this is the noxious weed ordinance,
Yes.
that the time period for the person to respond was lengthy in the code enforcement's opinion. The grass gets pretty long in the 10 days. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
So he was asking about if we agree that we should amend that to a shorter time period. And what time period were you thinking?
Well, I brought this up to the treasurer and had her put it on the agenda. Ordinance 86 says that if we get a call or complaint, or we notice that the grass is already in violation, that we have to give them 10 days. Well, in 10 days, in the early part of the spring and summer, we've all of a sudden got 16 to 24 inch grass. And then later on in the summer, when it's hot and dry, that's not so much of a problem. But then when we call, in the past, when we have called the current person to mow, it has sometimes taken them 2 weeks. So I want to get that down to 3 days. Once I've notified the homeowner or the company that owns the home that they're in violation, I'd like to get it down to 3 days that they have to take care of it. We also need to address with whoever is going to be doing that mowing that they need to do it within 48 hours of notification from us. That is still 5 days, and I think that's more than enough time.
Just comment from Mr. Gilner on if that's feasible and how to go about amending this.
It certainly is feasible. That entire paragraph was added at the township board's request. It's not required by statute at all. If you were to take out that second paragraph and leave just the first paragraph, which says that you have to publish a notice once a year, that's sufficient as far as state law is concerned. Frankly, I would build in a 3-day period, a 5-day period, a 10-day period, because although I always recommend it, because if it's there, you shall do it, you're stuck with it. You have to do it. And you may encounter situations where you really can't wait that long. So that, I'm sure, was my suggestion back when this ordinance was prepared and that was asked to be added. It's still always my recommendation that before you take it, you write a letter. It's an extra layer of protection. You're giving an added due process to the property owner. But anytime you put in there that this must happen, boy, now it has to happen. And I think it restricts you. So can that change be made? Absolutely easily. Is it needed? It isn't.
I have another question about the number 1 part of that. It says that the notice shall be published in the month of March. Can that be changed to just once a year, possibly? Because it's already past March and it hasn't been published yet.
I have to check with that. I believe that comes right out of the statute, March. So I'll have to check with that.
If that were true, are we out of luck for this year? As far as notification?
Or is the citation we give them 2 more?
You wouldn't be out of luck. We just have to find another way to give notice.
If you put 3 days, let's get longer than 3 days for the mail to deliver the letter.
Yeah, I kind of agree that we just take that right out of the
Put your hand up, chief.
We post them on the residence or on the property. We post them and we do a mailing, so it's posted the day of.
Also not required, but it's great practice. With all of this, if you publish it, you post it, and you write a letter beforehand, you're giving folks lots of opportunities. You're giving them lots of time to take care of the problem.
I'll make a motion that we accept the revised ordinance number 86 with the elimination of section 2, section 7, number 2.
Support.
Any other section that needs to be tweaked? Do you think of anybody?
What I'll have to do is, I'll look at how we address the fact that it's past March and publication hasn't happened, and what do we do in that instance, so.
Okay. Any more discussion on it? So when we amend this, do we still have to wait for 30 days, or just
It's an amendment, yeah.
it's amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
And that's 30 days after publication?
Yes.
It has to be published, so.
okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Diane, put this next one on here.
The township needs to look at hiring somebody to do our photos for us.
What's anybody's thoughts on it? I know we've, if you look at the code enforcement report there, the first part of it was, there was a definite manpower shortage the last month or so within the department, so. He also attached a, this job description again.
Mark drew up a job description for the board to look at.
You want us to, take a look at that under advisement, or put it on next month's agenda?
Is he asking?
Are you asking?
It's an open question.
Sounds like it should be dealt with.
Okay, this is, yes, the township treasurer put this on, and we have discussed it a little, very little. If you noticed, I can't remember if it was December or January, I gave you guys a report of what we handled and what my recommendations were, if we were to do that this year. I would think that you need to pull out that report and recommendations and review it. And I think you need to think about it and discuss it at this very next meeting. I don't think it has to be done tonight, but we can't go on. We have some issues that need to be handled. Unfortunately, we have some large criminal cases right now that have to be handled. So whenever we have criminal cases, we don't do code enforcement. We take care of the criminal cases, which upsets some of our electorate, and rightfully so. But there is a hierarchy in everything we do. I really would like you guys to give this some strong consideration and deal with it next month. But we need to discuss it.
These demolitions are costly business, and they chew up a lot of money, so.
We budgeted $20,000 for contract services. I think that there was some confusion thinking that we got paid an extra $20,000. That is not. It's to contract with firms to do these demolitions. We did 2 homes last year. If everything goes okay, the township will do 2 homes and the land bank will do 1 this year. So that'll be 5 homes over the last 24 months. It takes a lot of money to do one of these. And it takes a lot of time and usually more than 1 court appearance.
lots of research, especially with ownership and names and the court occurrences, so that, really that, 20,000 for the, to contract for somebody to tear these down. If we happen to get another one besides that, then 20,000 is just gonna be, it's not gonna be enough to do, say, a fourth one, or a third one even,
We
really.
wouldn't be able to do a third one this year with the money that we have.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the land bank, we would have enough money to do it, so. Okay, we'll take it under advisement and we'll talk about it, okay? Probably something that needs to be addressed, that's for sure. Okay, next thing is, server and desktop computer quotes.
Yes, I put this on here, I got a quote from IT Right. Last month, we had one desktop computer that just quit working, and it took us a week to get that replaced. And it's the same age as the other ones that are in the treasurer's office, my office, the fire department uses. And also our server is getting over 5 years old. And so I would like to see us get that stuff replaced this year. If, we definitely would not want the server just to quit during tax collection season, or something like that.
Anytime.
Right, we rely on that pretty heavy. So,
Will this include some improvements in the police departments? Because the state is almost monthly or quarterly dumping more of this paperwork onto the local units. Some of the software that we do the reporting on, we need to be able to edit reports and do things that they're not really able of doing at this point, I think.
yes, this did include one for the police department, a desktop. We forgot also. And things. And I did two quotes on the server here. One of them was the mid-range server and the basic server. And I kind of like the mid-range server, it has a little more horsepower, it looks like. Get things done a little faster anyways.
That's the top page.
Yeah, this one uses server options. And that's the desktops. I might not need, this is a quote for 5 desktops, but one of these has already been replaced because it died too early on me. So we already replaced one there, so it might not come up to that much cost.
Oh, I see that.
Is the labor the same on each quote?
The labor is only for the server.
But the basic server must have labor on top of it too?
Yes, you have to add that labor to that price
Right.
also. Yes. The replacement of the desktops is covered under our maintenance agreement that we have with them.
Is this server, I'm gonna do the existing server, keep it in the rack or?
We'll just get rid of it, take the hard drives out of it,
Okay.
destroy them. Get
Alright.
rid of that.
Well, how long are servers usually good for?
5 years is the most. It's been running 24/7 for 5 years.
Now, the computers, I guess I didn't understand what you just said. The contract covers the computers?
Yes, we covered the desktops, for the installation of the desktops.
Oh, for the labor?
Yeah.
Okay, but the computers are still, okay, I understand.
Yeah, you pay for the hardware.
Gotcha.
Budget-wise approved?
Yeah, budget-wise, we had put $10,000 into this line for capital improvements for this year.
Well,
And you think the mid-range is a better,
Yeah, kind of like that one. Like I said, it has a little more horsepower. Respond I said, in the middle of tax collection season.
It's bad enough having Beth go south, you know,
Right.
at her workstation, so.
Yeah, that kind of affected
You
her
don't even wanna think about this river going south.
building permit.
So this is outside of the budget by, it's pretty hard, close to
Yeah.
$1,200 by the time you get done with it, so.
Well, if you take Beth's off of there, you take 11 off of the 48,
It's just a little over $10,000.
close.
Do you think that's pretty likely, we can eliminate one?
Well, we were.
Yeah.
That makes
Plus,
sense.
one of them will be coming out of the fire department budget, so.
Well, that's true. Yeah, one is going out after the fire department.
Yeah. That'll come out of the fire budget, so.
Is this something you'd like to get started on? Or do
Yes. We would, you know, it takes time for ordering parts and scheduling and all that stuff,
Right.
so. It'll probably be a month or so before we could even get them installed.
And that's not an easy task.
No.
Yeah, the bid has got an E5 instead of an E3 processor. And it's quite a bit speedier. Well, what do you think, people?
Do this is laptops, are they gonna work with the computer program you got?
This is not, there's a little bit of software involved here, but not much.
Yeah, some of them we need to update Office to 2016, some of them don't have Office, but they all come with Windows 10. The desktops will, and we'll upgrade the server to Server 2016, Windows Server 2016. So.
So do we know an exact price, if you want to say not to exceed, or?
I don't get rid of your budget.
10,000 units?
Let's see what goes through.
Do that or do 11,000.
Sure.
11,000?
Well, if you say there was,
Yeah.
has he got one in his fire budget?
Did you put a computer in your budget this year?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll put it below 10 out of 10.
Just remember, the Windows 10 will not work with QuickBooks.
Your QuickBooks.
We can work with that.
You just need a little bit different setup. So we want to say not to exceed 11,000?
Sure, that's what you said.
I think so. That'll work.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and contract with IQ Right for our lease upgrades, not to exceed 11,000.
Okay, do I hear support?
Support.
Okay, any more discussion on it? Roll call,
Do you want to specify what server we're going with?
Mid-grade.
Mid-range. The mid-range server.
Is that acceptable to the second, whoever seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, Morals,
No.
Birdie,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Dowler,
Yes.
Latino,
yes? Okay. Working our way down here. The, police millage is gonna run out, in the year, I believe. So we need to discuss putting a renewal on the, ballot.
And the reason I was bringing this up at this time, if we want to put something on the August ballot, the deadline is May 15th to do that. So I thought a discussion should occur at this meeting and maybe approve something at the next meeting, if not at this meeting, so that I can get it to the county for the August election. I thought that, in my thoughts anyways, we should try for the August election, and then if that doesn't work, we can do something in November. We still have the option that way of doing something in November, if we want to.
I think we should, that was brought to my attention the other day, it was, I thought it was a great idea, that we should have some sort of a informational town hall, some kind of an open forum, so people understand what we're up against here. I think I'm probably the one that keeps bringing up Project Tim, but it's apparently a project that's looming here in the distance. And every time I hear more about it, it's a little more startling, a little more intriguing, but they're planning on increasing the lanes on Lansing Highway and Miller Road is one of the things that are looming. 5 lanes with a common left turn lane. We're definitely talking about additional traffic through the township on Miller and Grand Lane. Anyway, I think we need to get ahead of this problem, and I think we need to discuss it in the public so that people understand what we're up against.
Well, regardless of Tim, we still have budgetary issues that we have to deal with.
No, I understand that.
Whether Tim goes away, happens, or whatever, it doesn't, we still got to deal with our current situation.
Right. So I think that we need to have some form of informational
Do you want,
discussion.
do you want, Mr. Gilman to work on wording for a no for this, and bring it to us next meeting? Is that enough time or not?
That's what I was wondering, do we want to at least do that so he could prepare it for us?
Well, I guess we could proceed with that in a preliminary. I don't understand why you think it's gonna work. Unless we have to, it's like the second definition of insanity. I mean, by repeating the same results, expecting, or the same sequence and expecting different results.
I think the town hall or township.
We're gonna need to,
public meeting
we're gonna
is a
need to
great idea.
supplement this with something.
Well, for my 2 cents, we at least got to get the existing millage removed, or we're really going to have a problem. I mean, a really, really big problem.
Well, I think we need to get the word out at what the actual cost of Metro is. That seems to be a point of contention.
Can't do that.
You know, I mean, there's information that the general public needs to understand.
Well,
Do you agree with doing a millage, or do you want to do some other form of?
I frankly, I'm frankly in favor of what Diane's been talking about,
Which is
an assessment.
an assessment versus a millage? And that should be part of the discussion also.
That's exactly right. I think it's need to be discussed. So if we start this as a preliminary, I have no issue with that. That as long as we keep our options open as to what to do, because we realize we're facing a brick wall here.
I think a special meeting to bring everything to the forefront is a great idea.
So do you want to have this meeting this month?
Well, how much lead time do you need to pull it off?
I don't know, maybe you want to just,
We'd have to publish this,
or
right?
you want to just publish it in review of this?
We should publish it in review, we should put it on our website, we should,
And not have it on a Wednesday.
yeah.
Maybe a Saturday. Or a Sunday.
So what day do you have in mind? Calendar right there, pick a day. In April.
Are you,
We have planning commission on the 25th and appeals on the 11th.
are you,
Let's see, we can have it in the paper the next Thursday. So anytime after that.
as long as we're not crowding it, have reasonable time to promote it, I think that it doesn't matter. To me, I would suspect that something like a Saturday wouldn't be such a bad idea, but
So that leaves us like the first opportunity to be the week of the 16th. Does that sound like a good week? The third week of.
yeah, I have no problem with that.
Don't have any other meetings.
Can't be on the 19th.
Make it the
Thursday?
Can't be on the 19th.
Which is a Thursday, correct?
Yes, correct.
is the purpose for having the meeting this month so that you can have something to the board at the May meeting? Or are you thinking that you just want to have an informational meeting perhaps to get it on the November ballot?
What do you mean? I'm just in for an informational meeting. I was questioning why this needed to happen in April, but if it has to do
Well,
with.
we have to have it to the county by May 15th to have it on the August ballot.
Yeah, okay.
So let's do it.
I think we should have it this month and inform the rest.
On May 1st.
That's just before the meeting. Is that a little too tight on that?
Depends on how quick the attorney puts something together.
If you're talking about a renewal of the existing language, obviously that's not much time at all. If it's a special assessment, it's a little bit well, it's an altogether different.
Of course, if we decide to go that way, you don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
Unless we wanted to do it on the August election.
A few years ago, Swartz Creek, I don't remember what the issue was exactly, but I believe it was